Hello YouTube family. So this is going to be another video update on my health journey. If you've been following along for any length of time or you've been on the channel, you've probably picked up the fact that I've had some stuff going on and we are finally getting down to the bottom of it this year. So here's where we're at today. But first of all, I'm going to show you a little of what's going on, where I'm at. So we're still at my dad's. For those of you that didn't know, we're also currently traveling full-time. In March of this year, we left our roughly 1,200 square foot house, put everything in an 11 by 10 storage unit, and just kind of sold the rest or got rid of it. And we're currently traveling. So if you're curious about that, I put more info on how to start a business, like how to travel, how to save money, how we went from spending about $1,800 per month on our, just our housing and daily cost of living down to approximately $200 a month. All that jazz. Whoops. So all of that is on the blog. And I was going to show you, it snowed. Yeah. So, oof. And I just kneeled on to the thing, which really hurt. So I'm gonna sit on the floor and stop being so spastic so you guys can actually focus maybe. Okay, here we go. So this morning I had my cardiology appointment. Just a really quick recap. So pretty much what happened was my heart was acting a little funny. Not a little funny. I shouldn't downplay what actually happened. I was down in Orlando, Florida in 2015. So this is kind of how long it's taken to get to this point. And I was in the hospital in and out for 3 days. My limbs turned purple, like just bad. And then a similar thing happened when I went out to Colorado and was exposed to altitude. And then for about a year, anytime when I would work out, I was just getting really fatigued. Then in September, we found out that I had some pretty lower cortisol levels, and I don't know, I got scheduled with a cardiologist. I haven't seen a cardiologist since I was in high school, and they put me on this like tilt table thing where they strap you to this board looking thing and then flip you back and forward and this way. So your feet are at the bottom and your head goes like this. Well, I didn't even get to the point where it could have gotten worse and I ended up fainting. Long story short, yeah, here we are now. So my cardiology appointment was this morning and it was just a consultation. You guys, if there's anything that motivates me to start this wellness center that I have this like passion and a vision for, it's going to regular doctors. These are specialists. They're not even regular doctors. I shouldn't say that. And I'm not singling out any one particular doctor and I know that there are some really good doctors out there. And I hope that if you're watching this, you have one of them. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to kind of generalize and just say, for the most part, I feel like most doctors nowadays kind of just, even if they're a specialist, so like my cardiologist was a specialist, he kind of just picks that one area and like that's all they focus on, which I get. But you would think would have to know how other things in the body could affect that particular organ. So anyways, this is what happened today. So I go in there and I explain to him that whenever I'm exposed to airplanes or altitude, this is kind of triggering a heart episode. And at first he's pretty much just telling me it's the same thing I was diagnosed with years ago, and I'm like, okay, it's not, but even if it was, what are some of these triggers, and are we just, I basically just want to be 100% sure that there's nothing structurally going on in my heart. Like, if I know for a fact that these PVCs, which is like a heart, it's pretty much where your heart kind of like, it's a PVC is a preventricular contraction. Pretty much you can just feel a really heavy heartbeat. They're brought on by caffeine, alcohol, exercise. and they're pretty benign, meaning they're not usually harmless. But sometimes my heart rhythm gets out of whack, and I just want to make sure there's nothing else going on inside of there for peace of mind. And then I'll be fine. I can deal with them knowing that, you know what, this isn't structurally going to cause any problems. But it, you know, your heart is one of those things where it's like, you don't want to frick around with your heart. Maybe if it was my elbow or something, I'd be like, okay, we'll let it slide. But this is my heart. You only got one ticker. So anyways, if you remember the last video, they had done an ACTH stimulation test, which tests your adrenal glands and and your cortisol level, which mine came back as a little bit lower. Your cortisol regulates your hormones, kind of. And when it's really low or lower than normal, some of these things that it can regulate are your heart rate, your insulin, and if you have a chronically low cortisol, like Addison's disease, then you can have what's called an Addisonian crisis. Now, the 2 episodes that I've ever had, when I read what an Addisonian crisis is, I was like, holy-ish. I would be willing to bet 95% that is exactly, I'd say even 98, that's exactly what I had going on. Well, that was the last time I had one of those was 2 years ago, so it's even taken this long to figure anything out. Anyways, cortisol is like an important hormone that, like, you know, if it's too low, you can't regulate your heart rate and your blood pressure drops, and my blood pressure drops to like 94 or 92 over 48 or 96 over 52. It gets really low. And when my blood pressure is low and at certain points in the night, it's like fatiguing, where I'm just so tired, and not mentally tired, just it feels like it would expend too much energy to even talk. Like, you hear that, and you hear sometimes where people are like, I don't have the energy to talk. I can relate to that. It happens sometimes. Well, this cardiologist, I had mentioned, I said, well, my endocrinologist said that my cortisol is lower. It's still okay. I believe that my body is healing, which I will talk about that in another video. I'll talk about what I'm doing. But from everything I can see from these recent tests, my body is totally healing, regardless of whatever diagnosis that they would have for me. It's healing. So, but anyways, please pardon my squirrel brain. So anyways, so this cardiologist, you know, I'm telling him, well, I have a low cortisol. Would that affect my heart rate? This cardiologist today looks at me with this look of like dumbfoundedness and says, oh, I don't know. He's an older white guy, so just picture that when I'm talking. And he doesn't sound this dumb, but it's, for the sake of the video, this is the voice I'm going to give him. So he's like, oh, I don't know. That's not my specialty. I'm a cardiologist. I'm a heart guy. That's hormones, and I don't quite know how that affects the heart rate. I don't really know what cortisol does or how that would affect the heart rate. He said, see, I wasn't really good at hormones in school. That's endocrinology. That was a little too complicated for me, which is why I decided to be a cardiologist. And I'm just like, did this dude literally just tell me that he doesn't know what cortisol does or how it affects your heart rate? This is what the problem is, you guys. So I'm trying to be calm and trying not to be offensive, because I've found that if you come off as like a know-it-all, they're just going to dismiss you. So don't do that. If you know about the body, and like, that's my passion. I love health. I love holistic. I love studying the whole body and learning how it all functions together, which is why someday I want to have my own wellness center. But for now, I just run an online virtual wellness studio focused on like digital courses, and we all learn together, and we have like, you know, weight loss and fitness is a side effect, but it's really just a wellness studio. Anyways, long story, if you're interested in that, that's down below. But long story short, it just really blew me away that it's not like a mandatory thing. Like, these specialists, even my endocrinologist, she didn't know how sleep could affect hormones or how hormones could be affecting heart rate. And I'm just like, what? I don't understand what you do then. I'm confused. Your hormones affect your whole body. So if I'm noticing changes around my cycle and you're a hormone doctor, wouldn't you think that you'd be able to tell me what's going on or why? Nope. So anyways, and then the cardiologist was telling me that, you know, since I have intermittent episodes, which they can't really catch on an EKG, he's like, maybe we should just do the implant. It's a surgical implant that they would put in right above my heart. And I was like, no. Like, no. So long story short, we're not going to do that, but I do have to wear an event monitor for 30 days. It's coming in the mail. Keep you guys posted on that. I'll show you like how I have to hook it up. I've wore one of these in the past. And hopefully, when I start my weightlifting program, I will have one of these heart episodes. So my goal is to try to trigger one so that they can pick it up and figure out what's going on. But if I don't have one, then I'm just going to keep going as normal, keep proceeding, and I'll kind of just take it as a sign that my body is kind of healed and is continuing to heal all on its own. Yeah, and then he was like telling me about medications that they could try to put me on, and I'm like, but you don't even know what's causing it. He's like, well, we could just try basically his method was like throwing spaghetti noodles at a wall to see what sticks, and I'm like, no. So it was just really fascinating. Really fascinating. So my biggest takeaways from this meeting with the guy today were be your own health advocate, be proactive and educated, like in your own health. So for example, I know that my endocrinologist noticed my cortisol was low. So ask questions like, well, how could your cortisol affect your heart rate? If you have a doctor that doesn't know things, find one that does. I'm going to be doing that. I'm grateful that this guy ordered the tests that needed to happen. So I also am going to have an echocardiogram done, an EKG, and a stress test. But then, you guys, I'm totally going to continue searching for a cardiologist who's also knowledgeable in the entire body and how it all functions together. Not just, I do hearts. I don't know how hormones affect hearts. I'm just like, So there was that. Yeah, but anyways, that was the update. So I'm really fingers crossed hoping that this thing gets here in the next week, because then I will be able to wear it for an entire month, and then I have to go turn it in here locally because we're supposed to be leaving town for down south in like a month. So obviously I'm not going to be able to turn my monitor in if I still am wearing it. So the sooner I get that thing, the better. So there's my current update. But long story short, you guys, I'm feeling good energetically, like emotionally. I feel like I'm headed in the right direction. I feel better than I have probably ever. I can stay up past 9 o'clock. I do have a couple days sometimes where I can feel my cortisol is just real low and my blood pressure drops and I'll get in the bathtub, but overall, I'm feeling really good. So thank you for coming on this journey with me. Down below, if you're interested in the meal plan and nutrition stuff, my husband, if you didn't see this is totally separate, but my husband, who just a couple years ago had the thyroid of a 90-year-old man, was on several medications, like his joints always ached, he got sick all the time, he couldn't even fight the common cold, like it was bad. He came off of all medication. We, treated this, whatever he had going on with nutrition and exercise. He just had his lab works done on Monday, so 4 days ago. And he is 100% normal and off of all medication. So I'm just super thrilled. I'm just really, really thrilled about that. So anyways, if you're curious about like, okay, well, what do you guys eat? I put it all together. I mean, I'm not an expert. I've just done a lot of my own personal research. I know what works for us, and I have proof that it works, like medical documented proof. So if you're curious about what we eat, how we eat, about our meal plan, that's down below. I have a free PDF guide. I have a course on how, like, what we're doing. You're welcome to join the virtual wellness studio and get coaching. Like, this is what I'm passionate about and sharing my journey. So guess what? My sister and my newborn niece just got here, so I'm gonna hop off and go snuggle a baby. See you later, you guys. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I look forward to giving you the next update.